No, you can.
Where in Modesto?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Oakdale has to be.
Annabelle, we good on your side? Yes. Okay, Norma, we good on your side? Yes. Okay. Notice and call the special Riverbank City Council hybrid meeting. Today is Wednesday, November 3rd. The time is 6 p.m. Notice this meeting will be held in accordance with California Government Code Section 59453, subdivision of the Ralph M. Brown Act, California GC 54950 et sec, the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act, and the recent Stanislaus County Health Officers Mandatory Face Covering Order. While this meeting will be physically open to the public, given the state of emergency regarding the threat of COVID-19, members of the public may also participate and comment via the Zoom virtual platform. We refer to the last page of the agenda for participation information. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And roll call, please.
Council Authority Member District 2, Rachel Hernandez. She is present. Council Authority Member District 3, Cal Campbell.
Here.
Council Authority Member District 4, Darlene Barber Martinez.
Here.
Vice Mayor Luis Uribe.
Here.
Mayor Richard D. O'Brien is absent.
Thank you. So first, before we proceed with the agenda business, I would like to announce at this time that this agenda was revised today before the meeting to add an emergency item 7.1, an emergency situation with the Topeka Street Improvement Project between 3rd and 5th Streets that has caused work stoppage and a public safety issue, and which requires City Council's immediate consideration and action. We assure you, everything good? Okay. We assure you that the revision of the agenda and the short notice of the emergency matter is in accordance with the provisions of the Ralph M. Brown Act, and we remind you that the original posting of the special City Council agenda was posted in advance of the 24-hour requirement, again meeting the Brown Act. So let's continue with the agenda. Conflict of interest, any council member or staff who has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare their conflict at this time. Hearing none. Item 5.1, first public hearing, redistricting process for Riverbank's 4 council member district boundaries.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor, and good evening, Council. With us this evening, we have Doug Yoakum with NDC, and he is here this evening to present to the City Council some information about our current redistricting process and the outreach and how how the process is going to play out. And so, before I throw it to Doug, I'd like to point out that we have an interpreter available for anybody, Saida, who's in the back, for anybody that needs that service. And so, Saida, if you could come to the front and just let folks know that your services are available if needed.
Hello, my name is Saida Sanchez. I will be your Spanish-speaking interpreter. Please speak in clear, short sentences so that I may interpret. Voy a ser su intérprete en español. Por favor, hable en oraciones claras y cortas para que yo pueda interpretar. Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saida. Okay, and we're going to go to Doug now, who's going to give you his report.
Thank you, and good evening. Good to be in Riverbank today. Mr. Hallinan, good to see you in person. My name is Doug Yoakum. I'm with the consultant with National Demographics Corporation, a company that is is a specialist in helping cities, counties, special districts, school districts, community college districts do redistricting, which is a especially hot topic these days. I'll tell you a little bit about what's going to go on this year, how we're going to try to help you, and a schedule of how we're going to go through this and get this done.
And Doug, before we proceed, I just want the audience to be aware the mayor has joined us via Zoom. Please continue.
Very good. See if we can move to this next page here. Oh, all right.
I'll help you out.
All right, very good. This is the schedule that I've worked out with your city staff. Some of it has already happened. There was a census release back in August. It was in a form that's not readable by humans. It can only be interpreted by a computer, and that's why the state of California has a statewide database. It's an entity of the state legislature, and they are in charge of developing census data for the entire state of California. First of all, for the state commission that draws legislative districts, and that data, which is called the adjusted statewide database data, is required to be used by all cities and counties in the state to do redistricting. And that was completed on September 27th, after a lot of rigmarole. Public hearing number 1 is today. This is your first public hearing to overview the process and to hear from the public if they have any comments about what we're doing. And it's before any release of draft maps. We have not done any maps yet. Public hearing number 2 is scheduled for January 4th, where we will do a little more education on this and hopefully hear from the community about some things they might like to happen with this process. Next slide. We've established a deadline for the public to submit draft maps of February 22nd, which is 2 weeks prior to our first draft map hearing, which will be on March 8th. Then we'll have another hearing on the 22nd, where we will hopefully have gone through the draft maps, decided what shapes look good, and then we will adopt the final map on March 22nd. The statutory deadline to get all of this done is April 17th of 2022. The adjusted population of Riverbank is 24,933 people. We will be drawing 4 districts, so that divide that number by 4, you get 6,233 people in each district. These are the rules, laws that we're going to follow, that we're required to follow. First and foremost is that each district shall be substantially equal in population. Substantially equal means basically equal. That 6,200 number, we have to be pretty close in each of the 4 districts. We're going to follow the Federal Voting Rights Act, and by that we mean that we cannot and shall not divide or combine a group of protected class voters, that is Latinos, African Americans, Asian Americans, or Native Americans, in ways that deprives them of an opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice to the Riverbank City Council. Basically, that means you can't combine them in a way that hurts their ability to influence a district, or divide them in a way that would hurt their ability to be an influence in a district. And by no racial gerrymandering, the Voting Rights Act means that you cannot go into the process with an intent to draw either a district for any protected class of voters. So you simply go, you're supposed to follow the Voting Rights Act as you go along. and not have an intent to draw a district in a particular way when you start. The California Fair Maps Act was enacted in 2019, and it put in law these four criteria in priority order that cities must follow. The first one is that the districts must be contiguous, and that is together. They can't be, can't have one part in one part of the city and another part somewhere else. To the extent possible, when we identify a neighborhood or a community of interest, we should not divide that community. And that's a process that hopefully your citizens will help as we go along, tell us what they think their neighborhood is, what district it should be in or shouldn't be in, and any communities of interest that we identify. I'll talk about that, the definition of that in a moment. To the extent possible, we can and shall use easily identifiable boundaries, meaning major streets, railroads, rivers or streams, things that on a map that people can identify, so that districts don't meander through neighborhoods and make it hard for people to understand what district they are in and what district they are not in. So we're going to try to follow easily identifiable boundaries, which your current map basically does. And those districts are supposed to be compact. There's only one prohibition in the Fair Maps Act, and that is that no district shall favor or discriminate against a political party. There are other traditional redistricting principles that, because they are not required by the Fair Maps Act and not prohibited by the Act, you as a council can adopt them if.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick recess till we get that fixed.
Very good.
Luis, may I suggest that we continue because you did not lose Zoom. YouTube is not your major communication with the public.
Okay, Tom, is that good? So, Mayor, any broadcasting that's affected?
Tom, is that true? I thought it was the one that you are interactive with.
Tom said, Tom's not on mic, Mayor, but he said if we're using both and one goes down, it's the same difference or less.
We advertise that way.
Thank you, 361. For the record, Annabelle, I was here before you started the meeting. Norma wouldn't let me in.
We didn't see your hand there. Third,
Before the meeting, you are now a participant. Tom, can we pause this meeting, this agenda item and go to the emergency one? Which, do we have to follow the same rules?
There are motions on that, Mayor. I would just wait.
Mayor, public hearings for the redistricting require that this item be considered first before any other business is conducted.
Thank you for saving me from being me. I'm going to rejoin my other meeting, and then as soon as I hear that we're back online, I'll come back out.
Sounds good, Mayor. Thank you.
Very
Testing
good.
1, 2.
Okay. All right. Back to what I was saying. I was talking about traditional redistricting principles, things that are not required by the Fair Maps Act and also not prohibited by the Fair Maps Act. So city councils have the discretion to either use them as criteria in their redistricting or not. One of them is to respect the voters' choices as to who has been elected to the council, and that means that we don't put city council members together in a district purposely, and we let people run for re-election if they so desire, and let the voters decide whether or not to elect them again. You can start from current districts as your basis, which is always a good idea, especially in a city this size, because there might not be any large changes that need to be made. We have to look at the actual populations to see if that's doable when we start this process. You can take into consideration an area of future population growth, meaning that if you know that there's going to be a large number of people coming to an area within the next 10 years, you can underpopulate that district, assuming that it will grow as the decade goes along. But that requires then that you overpopulate another district. Therefore, we don't recommend that you go overboard on this particular issue, because as I said at the outset, the number one consideration has to be equal population, substantially equal population of all 4 districts.
Doug, what would be an appropriate ratio for that, just out of curiosity?
The courts have allowed up to a 10% total deviation, meaning that some districts can be a 5% over and some 5% under. In a city this size, again, you want to be careful on that particular score, because that could actually add up to a lot of folks. But our company recommends that no city go over 1 or 2% or under 1 or 2%. And we try to propose plans that are within a 1% margin of error, therefore a 2% total deviation.
And Doug, if it was, say 10 was the number, and you had 5 and 5, that means the other ones could have 0. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
To get total deviation, you add the most overpopulated district and the most underpopulated district together, and that's your total deviation.
Got it. Thank you.
Next, please. This is just a map of your current districts. I put it in case we needed to refer to it at any time during this. You adopted these districts back in 2015. And we have a 2020 census. You will have to redistrict again in 2030. Next slide. This is what we're looking for from the citizens or residents of Riverbank. Tell us what your neighborhood is. Tell us what the boundaries of that particular neighborhood might be. If it's centered around a park or a school, or it's some community entity that is familiar to everyone. Just tell us what you think your neighborhood is and where you think it should lie in a district or in the current district. Just tell us what you, the resident of Riverbank, thinks. Next slide. This is what I was talking about earlier, a community of interest. It's a little different than a neighborhood in that a community of interest has a social or an economic issue that they have with the city, and they have a desire to unify as a group of people to be represented on the city council around that issue, whether it be traffic or law enforcement or some other issue that the city council deals with, that they would like to be together in advocating for that issue before the council. And if they live together in an area, it would be nice of them to tell us where that area is so that we know what that area is and what district we should put it in. So I included here the state definition of community of interest, which is community would benefit from being included within a single district for purposes of its effective and fair representation. And communities of interest may not include relationships with political parties, candidates, or incumbents. That is not a community of interest. I've worked with your staff, and you're going to have some tools that the citizens and residents can use to help draw districts or suggest districts that they think should be drawn. They run from simple to a little more complicated. And simple meaning a paper tool. You can simply draw a map on a piece of paper that already says what the boundaries of the city are, and then people can draw that and just submit it to the city, either online or just come into City Hall. We also have a Excel sheet that goes with that. If they're a little more familiar with computers, they can add it, instead of adding themselves what the total population would be. They simply say what area, they tell the Excel program what area they want in the district, and Excel will add it for them and provide all of the demographic data that's associated with the database. Then there's an easy to draw computer application. It's called Dave's Redistricting. And you may be familiar with it already. It's been in use for several years, and thousands of people all over the country are using it to suggest boundaries to Congress, legislatures, and to city councils and county boards of supervisors. We adopted it because we had another vendor with another application, and that vendor was so overwhelmed with all of the things that were going on this year, they had to stop taking orders. So we've switched to Dave's Redistricting, and I'll have it ready for your city sometime, let's see, we're in November, sometime this month. And so people can just get online and see how they can draw a district in Riverbank. And we've taken maps on paper napkins before. Anybody has an idea, they're welcome to send it in. Either take a picture, send it and email it, or just bring it to City Hall. We will look at it and we will consider it. And I think I have some slides here that describe these things that I just described. This is the map review tool that we'll have on your website, and it's for use to see what districts that are proposed look like. It's not for actually drawing maps, but it'll have all the demographic data. Once we draw a line or propose a map, people can look at it and see what's inside the district and who is inside the district. This is the simple map drawing tool I described. This is a city in Southern California that's featured here, but it'll look very similar, and people can just draw on that map and they add up the numbers. The next slide will show you a little bit about the Excel program. People just add say which area they want. See if you can click and the arrows will come up. Or just go to the next, try to go to the next slide. Sometimes there's arrows. Yeah, there you go. You select that area and say, okay, I want that to go in this district. And then the next slide. Then this Excel program on the right will add it all up for you. This is we've added this to all of our presentations. Some people actually have their own GIS systems at home. And if they have certain files that they can draw districts with, they're free to send that to us, and we can interpret it for them and propose it on your website as a proposed map. I haven't seen too many of these yet, but we're early in the process. And there is this is where I made the mistake. Yeah, I didn't put I didn't put Riverbank down there. I was using this in series, so that's my mistake, and I apologize. I only have 13 clients that I'm working for this company. We have 180 total clients all over the state, and maybe more by now. I don't know. But we've stopped taking orders. We really don't have time for any more.
And Doug,
Yeah.
Just so the public's real clear on this, the address you'll send to for Riverbank is cityclerk@riverbank.org. Cityclerk@riverbank.org.
And no periods, right?
No periods.
Or you could have Siri's forward all comments to us.
I'll put Mr. Hallinan in charge of that. Last slide. This is the opportunity. I'd be happy to take questions, and if there are comments from the public, we'd like to hear from them as well.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, well, thank you, Doug. Do we have any comments from the council?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify during this whole process, is this the time for questions? Will the locations all be here at City Hall for the meetings?
Yes.
And will there be a translator at everyone?
If the Fair Maps Act requires that if your clerk receives a request 72 hours prior to the meeting, then it is required to have a translator at that meeting.
Councilmember Hernandez, I was just confirming with the city clerk, but I think that we're going to maybe step above that minimum requirement and just have cite it at,
Okay, that'd be great.
if she's available, at every one of these ones, just in case.
I'm sorry, did you say yes for all the meetings that will be held here at City Hall?
Yes, that's the intent, yeah.
Okay.
And I believe we have it on your website, and it gives the address here.
Okay. Is there going to be collaboration with groups, nonprofits, chamber, any of the neighborhood groups in the city in terms of public outreach, or what does the outreach look like?
There is a public outreach aspect in the Fair Maps Act, and your staff should be working on that right now.
Okay.
Councilmember Hernandez, so our intention is to make sure, and I'm speaking kind of in, Annabelle may be able to jump in here too, but our intention is to make sure that we're complying with the very specific provisions of that as we do. For example, when we do public noticing, it's very important that we follow what the specific provisions are. There are certain times where we may do something in addition to that, where we think there's specific value there. But in this case, Annabelle, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
That's true. So we do meet the requirements, but we do like to go above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is the reason why it's important that, you know, any of us who are in connection with any organizations or anybody, that we pass on the word that we would like to engage with them and have their input. On our side, with myself and hopefully with staff that Sean will allow me to help, we do have, you know, we're going to do flyers. We're going to put it out on the social media. I've already put a public notice out on the front page of our website. I'm going to be adding the Spanish portion of it. I was only able to quickly do the English part, but the Spanish portion of it, anything we do, we're going to do it with the Spanish translation for it too. And if there are any other ideas that you have, please, they're welcome. And we will definitely strive to get the word out, to participate in all the meetings and how important it is, because this only happens every 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a few ideas for going above and beyond, and it'd be great to talk about that.
Okay.
and then promote that.
I believe we've already set up on your website an address where people can sign up to receive information if they,
Okay.
if they
Yes,
so
so our link is on our website. It is, at all on the pages that deal with elections or city clerk or city council, there is a link on there, including, my current, public notice that I put on the front page. It has the link on there. So there is a separate link specifically for redistricting that everyone can go to. If you're interested. Thank you.
And another component, outside of the outreach is just, I think a little bit about, like, for example, when Kathleen did her bike and ped plan, or Sue's Parks Master Plan is another great example. Some of it is just all of us consistently reminding folks that we speak to in the community. Certainly when I go out and speak to community groups, whether it be the Women's Club or any others, just reminding everyone, hey, we have this really important once every 10-year process. Once it's over, it's over. So it's pretty important that you try to be involved. May not be the most exciting thing compared to maybe like a parks plan, but it's super important. So.
All right, do we have any further comments from the council? All right, so let's open it up for public comment. Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment? And do we have anybody on Zoom that would like to make a comment?
Vice Mayor, there is no one wishing to speak.
All right, so I'll close public comment. There's no action from the council, correct? All righty, so with that being said, thank you, Doug, for being here, making that time to squeeze us in, and we look forward to working with you for the next 3 meetings. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, next item, public comments. No action can be taken pursuant to government code in reference to a special meeting. The public has the opportunity to address the city council only on items appearing on this special meeting agenda. Individual comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and time cannot be yielded to another person. Do we have anybody in the public that would like to make a comment? And Annabelle, do we have any comments in Zoom land?
Vice Mayor, there is no one wishing to speak.
Alrighty, so we'll close public comment and move to new business. Emergency item 7.1. An emergency situation has come to the attention of the city subsequent to the special agenda being posted 24 hours before the special city council meeting on November 9th, 2021, that requires immediate action by the city council, which has created work stoppage and severely impairs public safety provided by the Stanislaus Consolidated Fire Protection District's local fire station due to blockage of the station's access. A resolution to address an emergency situation and to approve the appropriation of additional funds to the Topeka Street Improvement Project between 3rd and 5th Streets due to unforeseen conditions.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. So this is a fairly unusual situation. I apologize. I think we have to go through step one. Tom, can you explain?
Yeah, we just need to vote to add the item as an emergency item. It came to your attention, it was a little different. After the agenda was posted and it needs immediate action, and the basis for that is in the title there. You got the fire station access being blocked.
Gotcha. So we do a roll call vote?
Yes.
Okay, roll call.
We have a motion to add it, yeah. Motion to add it, and then a vote, right?
I make a motion that we approve, by majority vote, that there is an emergency situation that exists, to take a vote.
I'll second it. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
May I comment first?
Yeah, go for it, Mayor.
Okay, yes, please. Luis, I believe you said November 9th.
Special city council on November 9th.
That's correct, yeah.
Let's revise that, please.
3rd, yeah.
Thank you for catching that, Mayor.
That's why I'm mayor.
That's true.
So noted.
I'm joking. God dang.
All righty. So do we have?
Councilmember, go ahead.
So we have to make the motion again with the amendment?
Just amend the date, yeah.
With the amendment, yes.
All right, so we have a first and a second with the amendment? Roll call.
Councilmembers Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Odive,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, I'll go to the staff report now. Sorry for jumping the gun there. Okay, so as you can tell by the reports that our process, so first of all, I'll just say that our process to put agenda items out to you usually and almost never happens in one day or half a day. Usually we have a whole process of review and peer review. But this is a very unique situation that really only occurs when there's either a natural disaster of some type. We were actually talking before the meeting that years ago, before I was here, an urgency item was placed as it related to a levee failure. But it primarily relates when you have a situation that's so serious that we must address it immediately for a public safety need. And this is one of those situations. And so I'm going to step you through real briefly what the issue is, and then Kathleen is going to come up and explain what our solution proposal is. But essentially, as you know, in July, the council awarded to George Reed Incorporated, which is a very prevalent local contractor, does a lot of important jobs, has worked a lot for us in the past, to complete construction of a improvement project on Topeka between 3rd and 5th, right around the corner from City Hall here. And we have experienced really since the beginning some stabilization issues with regard to the soils that are under the are under the roadway. And there's a number of reasons we think this is the case. We can really only speculate because the road's been there for a long time. What we think happened is one of two things. Either the road was out of repair long enough that as we received moisture or rain, it was getting through the road base and below the concrete. And essentially, the way it was explained to me by our engineering staff and Kathleen and our inspector is what happens is once that moisture gets underneath the road, in many cases, that's fine. In this particular case, the problem is that it gets to the dirt beneath the road, and if you go down about 5 feet, you hit what's called hard pan. And the hard pan dirt does not absorb that moisture in the same way that other dirt does. And so what happens is it just stays there indefinitely. And so if you remember before we tore up the road, what it was like to drive down that section of Topeka, you probably remember that your car kind of went like this most of the way down. That's likely why, because probably for many years we have had unstable compaction under that roadway. Kathleen was actually telling me before the meeting that as they were out there looking at it just today, when you saw equipment go across that soil, the soil is so moist, essentially, that you can actually see the rippling of the road, the road or the soil rather. So we have a solution. It is going to cost us a little extra. It's not something that it's something that's very difficult to know until you tear up a road and really look at it. The road, like I was telling somebody on the phone the other day that this is such an old area of town. This road is probably about 100 years old. Not the road that's there, but certainly the location of where it is. And so it's sort of like opening up the wall to an old house. You just really don't know what you're going to find until you get in there. In the meantime, what we've done is we have spread, and I guess we're going to continue to spread basically base rock over it as an interim solution. And then Kathleen, if you can come up and kind of explain what the city engineer has come up with as a more permanent fix, so we don't have this problem after the road is done.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and members of the council and Mayor O'Brien. Yes, this is unfortunate. So as we got the report from Kleinfelder yesterday, and then we got the price from George Reed, and we picked ourselves up off the ground after we saw that because we were just very surprised. We immediately, met with Maricela, and we apologized for bringing it as an emergency. we're just really glad that there was a meeting tonight and we didn't have to wait till next Tuesday due to the condition of the road, and also with the fire truck. Right now they're going out on 3rd Street. We're not allowing them to go down to 5th Street because of the condition of the road. So Kleinfelder went out, very reputable company. They tested the soil and they came up with a solution, and we feel it's the best solution for that road. So George Reed gave us the price for that, and what they're going to be doing is they're going to mix cement to the subgrade to absorb the excess water and form a strong concrete base. A machine goes down and does that. Kleinfelder will be on site, making sure that it's done properly before they can go ahead and put the asphalt on. We have checked with various other companies to verify the cost, because we were very surprised at the cost, and it is within the means that they've seen. It's not an exorbitant cost for what needs to be done.
Kathleen, just to clarify, so the base rock is going to be the entire street of Topeka, not just the areas of concern, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so to add to that, the reason why, as Kathleen said, we're really thrilled we don't have to wait till next Tuesday is our concern isn't just the fire department, although that's a big one. The other one is that when we had to place a stop work order on this project until we sorted this out, the concern you run into sometimes with contractors is they really don't have time to sit around and wait for you to decide how you want to fix a problem. They pull people off site and get to work on other jobs. And we don't want to, this project, because it's a reconstruction, it really affects the neighborhood, and we want to get it done as soon as possible. So not only the fire department, but all the people that live on that street don't have to deal with it any longer. So, but folks have been generally very understanding, and the fire department's been great. They've worked with us, and so the request before you is essentially a $125,000 increase to the overall project budget that will cover the cement-treated base. And we did, the good news, if there is any here, is that the original budget for this project that was approved by council was about $550,000, and the award, the low bidder, was $440,970. So we had some room there. We just don't have enough room to cover the full $167,000 cement-treated base component, and so we're going to request, the resolution requests that the council approve allocating that funding out of SB1. And Kathleen, can you speak to how we're doing in SB1, and is this a major impact?
Yes, so just so you're aware too, the construction part of that is $63,533, and then there's we have also the PE, which has already been paid, because that was done at the very beginning, which is the $33,555. The other $28,000 for the unknown change orders, Kleinfelder, and construction engineering, those are just estimates. We're hoping that it's not going to be that much, but we don't want to have to come back to you and ask for additional funds, and we don't know what else we're going to find while we're out there. So that's why those are all three are estimates. So we're hoping that it's going to be less than that. Okay. With this addition, the additional funds, the estimated additional funds after this allocation, we have $125,088 in SB1 still available, and each month we are still getting between around $49,000, $50,000.
So, question for you. So we've already approved the 550. The bid came in at 440. Yes. So are we just approving the difference of the 110 to the 125?
The 125,088. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's correct, Kathleen, because the total original over budget for construction only is $63,000 plus additional $61,000.
Yes, you're right. That is right.
In the second half of line items in your chart there.
Got it. Okay. Did you have anything else further, Kathleen?
I was looking at this because I said that the balance of SB1 funds is 125. Well, that wouldn't be the balance. So the additional extra funds, must have left off the staff report. I was gonna put the balance in there, but the balance is around around 100, it's not this figure, but it's around $100,000,
Okay.
a little bit over.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, do we have, further questions or comments from the council?
I have some for you, Kathleen. First off, LTF other, we have a reserve of $12 million. And ACE is going to be a little bit longer. Why don't you do an emergency request for LTF other to cover these costs and keep our SB1 funds for future projects within Riverbank? And I have a feeling that I can be influential in getting those fundings if you should happen to apply, and do it in an emergency way, because I believe I have a exec committee meeting on Monday. Secondly, compactability issues have been throughout the downtown area, where our beautification project tripled because of those issues, and our scope of what we beautified shrunk significantly. So that's something that we should think about when we're giving projects in the downtown area. I believe that in 2008, when we approved, or not we, the other council, we wouldn't have done that, approved, and then had to keep approving additional funding, because every time they went down a street or into an area, they had the same issues we're having now.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I can contact Stancog and look into that, but could we do that as a?
Mayor, I think the concern is, if it's okay with you and the council, what we would propose is that the resolution as presented is approved, and we will run concurrent paths where we can contact the contractor, tell them to get back on the job so that we can get this done, and then at the same time contact Stancog, say, hey, listen, we had this emergency situation. We'd like to request emergency LTF other, and if that works out, then we just don't use the SB1, and we'll report that back to you.
And Sean, that's what I didn't say it probably eloquently, but that's what I wanted. But we're going to approve SB1 now, apply for LTF other, and then replace any SB1 funds that we use, because it's going to take Stancog 2 months to get it on an agenda.
Very good. We will do that if that's council's direction.
All right, thank you. Do we have further questions or comments from the council? All right, hearing none. I'll open up for public comment. Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment? And Annabelle, do we have anybody on Zoom that would like to make a comment?
There is no one wishing to speak.
Okay, so I'll close public comment. And do I hear a motion from the council?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution to take the S1 funds for this emergency situation.
SB1.
SB1 funds for this situation.
And do I hear a second?
A second.
I have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Council members Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Uribe,
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, next we are in adjournment. So the next regular city council meeting will be on November 9th at 6 p.m. A special city council meeting for the second public hearing on redistricting is scheduled on January 4th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Thank you.